Okay, this is gonna seem crazy, but I've already finished my first book of 2023, and it's like 4 days into the year, and I've already finished the first one. Now I'm sure some of you are like, oh, I've already finished 5 or 6, but okay, I don't read that. I read all the time. I read every single day, but I'm not a fast reader, and I only have like maybe a half hour or hour every day in which I read. So for me, my goal is about 1 book a month. That's my goal. And I finished my goal for January, my 1 book that I was supposed to read for January, in 4 days. So we're gonna go over what the book even was. What was the book that I read? What did I think of it? And what am I gonna read next? Because obviously I'm gonna be ahead of my goal here, so I'm probably gonna jump right into my February book, and we'll see how that goes. Now I don't have a physical copy of the book that I read. All I have is my Kindle, and I read it on my Kindle, right? So I got the cover for it up. It's Holes. I don't know if you ever read this book, but it's Holes by Lewis. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but Sakar. Louis Sakar. Now this is a really well-known movie, and it's actually a pretty well-known book, but not everyone has read the book, but a lot of people have seen the movie. So this has always been one of my more enjoyable movies to watch. It stars Shia LaBeouf, and it's honestly a really good movie, really enjoyable movie. It's not like a super complicated story, but it's a very, very enjoyable movie, and I really loved it. I've seen it a million times, and and then I found out one day that it's based off of a book, and I was like, what? Off of a book? Really? And I haven't read it? So I decided to give the book a try, and wanted to start the whole year off with it. So the book is about this guy named Stanley Yelnats, and Yelnats is Stanley backwards. That's hence the name. Hence they named their kid Stanley. He comes in this long line of family members, all named Stanley. Stanley Yelnatses. Fancy that, right?
Even my family names their son Stanley because it's Yelnats backwards.
Well, that's interesting.
Alright, so the main backstory of the book, I guess, is that Stanley's great whatever grandfather got cursed by this gypsy woman because he made an arrangement with her that she would give him a pig, and this pig was like the runt of the litter. He had to carry the pig up the mountain every single day. The pig would drink from this water, and he would sing a song to the pig or whatever, and the pig would grow big and strong, and he would give the pig to this guy, and this guy would let him marry his daughter, in exchange for the pig. Well, the gypsy woman, part of this deal, at the end of all that, Stanley's great whatever grandfather had to carry her up the mountain too and let her drink from the water at the top of the mountain while he sang a song to her, whatever, right? Well, he did all that. He did the arrangement, took the pig, carried it up the mountain, got all strong. The pig got strong. He took the pig to the guy. Turns out that the girl was a ditz or whatnot, and he didn't want to marry her. He changed his mind, and somehow, throughout all this, forgot to carry the gypsy woman up the mountain. And he hitched a ride to America off of a boat. So the gypsy woman cursed him and his family and all their generations for an eternity, and not really an eternity, just later on in the book. It wasn't really for an eternity. So Stanley's cursed in the present day, right? His whole family's cursed. They just have a whole run of bad luck. Well, part of this bad luck is Stanley gets falsely accused of stealing shoes from a homeless shelter, and the shoes actually were donated by a famous athlete, Clyde Livingston or whatever the name was. So as part of the punishment, he had to go to this work camp for youth, for troubled kids or whatever you call it. In this work camp, he has to go dig a hole every single day. Every single day. He has to go dig a hole out in this desert. He had to go dig a hole every day. And then later on in the book, he finds out why he's digging the holes, because there's actually some big mystery, and they're actually searching for something. The warden's actually searching for something and stuff, or whatever. And that's kind of the general gist, right, of the book. And the movie. So the movie is actually almost scene for scene for the book. They mash up really well for each other. The things I really enjoyed about this book, right? First thing is just how it's written, how it's structured. This is not like some deep work of literature, right? It doesn't have these long drawn out chapters of explaining people's feelings or explaining scenery or a room or whatnot. You don't have 4 pages explaining a room. Everything is very quickly described, quickly explained. Dialogue is very just kind of fast-paced and flowing. The chapters are all super short. I believe pretty much all the chapters are like 4 or 5 or 6 pages long. They're not very long chapters. And because everything is just so quick-paced, the whole book just flows very quickly. I think that's part of the main reason why I was able to read it so quickly. And because of that, the book is such an easy read. You don't need to have a deep-seated love for literature in order to read this book. You can be just a normal young adult kid who really isn't the biggest fan of reading books, and you can still read this book. I think that's a very good thing. Sometimes, you know, literature that has a lot more depth is a good thing too, but in this case, you know, it has its own appeal. You know, when you're just reading a kind of a more, I don't know how exactly how the word, more elementary reading level. Like it's more easier to read, and in some ways that in and of itself has its own appeal. So I found it a very easy book to read, and I kind of enjoy that. I like a book that has a better flow to it. The story itself was actually very interesting. I didn't feel like anything was really misplaced. So a lot of books you'll read and you'll have entire scenes that have like no purpose whatsoever. No purpose whatsoever, and you're like, why am I reading this? You know, why am I wasting my time going through this whole sludge of nonsense that doesn't have anything to do with the plot? Pretty much this whole book, from beginning to end, had everything to do with the plot. And it was not a very big book. It was like maybe 230, 240 pages long, which also contributed to me being able to finish it in 4 days. But all in all, it was a very interesting read. Like, it was a very fun read. Some of the scenes were actually kind of funny, and it was just all around a very, very enjoyable read. I'm not going to rate it 5 out of 5 stars because, you know, you really have to blow me away with a story or how it's written or whatever to hit that. But I'll give it a good solid 4 out of 5. It was a very good book, and I'm actually very glad I picked it for my first book of the year, because can you imagine reading just a terrible, terrible book for your first book to start your year off? Ugh. I can't even imagine that. But this was a very good book. And yes, I read it on my Kindle. I know people are like, well, you should read it on a physical book. It's better. You need that tactile feel to it. You know, I kind of liked having the Kindle. It was actually kind of convenient just having this little thing to read it on. But that's a tangent. That's a side story. It's more of a Kindle review. But I kind of like having the Kindle. Sorry. What am I reading next, right? So basically, I'm just jumping ahead in my list. So the next book in my list, the one that I was going to start February off with, which I guess I'm just going to read in January, is this book. It's called Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Now, I've never read anything by John Green before, but he's well known for this book. It says it right on the cover. He wrote The Fault in Our Stars, which is a pretty famous book. I don't know if I think they made a movie out of it. I can't remember. But it's pretty well known. I don't really know anything about him. I've never read any of his books before, and I don't really know much about this book either going into it. It just had good reviews, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it or not. I read the first 2 chapters this morning, and so far it's not bad. I'm gonna hopefully I'll like it. I don't know. I'm hopeful. If you have any book suggestions, drop a comment. I don't have my full year's worth of books picked out yet, and if I'm already this far ahead, I might end up running out of book ideas to read. So yeah, have a good day. Toodles.